The child embodies our ultimate vision, that every Filipino learner will realize their full potential and ultimately reach their biggest dreams, no matter how high, no matter how hard, through quality education. And as our learners aim to soar, we must continue to elevate our goals. Rising, the kite is our emblem of aspiration to deliver the brand of quality in Philippine basic education. The quadrants of the soaring kite symbolize the key reform areas in forwarding this cause, as we embark on this aggressive reform to yield upskilled teachers, well-developed curriculum, improved learning environment, and responsive multi-stakeholder cooperation. Using the colors of our flag, the logo symbolizes our unity and serves as a reminder that it takes a nation to educate a child. Together, we as a nation will have to move forward and gain more momentum so that our vision of quality basic education for all shall take flight. Tama sa pagsulong ng edukalidad.
Well, hello, Mrs. Morgan. Remember how hard it was to get your students' attention? Oh, Mr. Jeski, any explosive ideas? And you, Mr. Fisher, the world keeps turning, right? Okay, we're past all that, because now we have Microsoft Educator Center. Trainings, courses, webinars, programs, badges, points, certificates. Join now and get yourself ready for the new school year. Teach your best.
Nang sumiklab ang giyera sa Marawi, maraming buhay at kabuhayan ang nawala. Maraming kabahayan at paaralan ang napinsala. Sa kabila ng matinding suliranin, naging matagumpay ang DepEd na mabigyan ang mga mag-aaral ng pagkakataong ipagpatuloy ang edukasyon at muling bumangon sa sitwasyon. Habang naghihintay sa pagkumpuni at pagsasaayos ng mga paaralan, nagkaloob ang DepEd ng mga temporary learning shelters, remedial classes, learning kits, at feeding programs para sa mga displaced learners. Nabigla ang lahat sa pag-alboruto ng Bulkang Taal. Libo-libong pamilya, kabilang ang mga guro at mag-aaral, ang nawalan ng tirahan at mga ari-arian. Mabilis ang naging tugon ng DepEd upang makapagpatuloy sa pag-aaral ang mga apektadong mag-aaral. Sinikap ng mga guro na turuan ang mga mag-aaral na pansamantalang tumuloy sa evacuation center. Tumama sa bansa ang COVID-19 pandemic, dahilan upang maantala ang normal na daloy ng pamumuhay at trabaho sa lahat ng sektor, kabilang na ang kagawaran ng edukasyon. Nang ipatupad ang Luzon lockdown, inilunsad ang DepEd Commons upang tuloy ang pagkatuto ng mga learners habang nasa bahay. Sa kabila ng mabigat na hamon sa ilalim ng new normal, patuloy na nagpunyagi ang DepEd upang maghanap at maghatid ng mga alternatibong pamamaraan upang magpatuloy ang edukasyon sa pinakaligtas at pinakaangkop na paraan. Sa ilalim ng Learning Continuity Plan, layunin ng DepEd na magpatuloy ang edukasyon nang hindi nakokompromiso ang kapakanan at kalusugan ng mga guro at mag-aaral. Isusulong ng DepEd ang tatlong pangunahing layunin: angkop na proteksyon, kaugnay ng mga health standards at safety protocols para sa ligtas na school year, patuloy na edukasyon sa pamamagitan ng blended learning, distance learning at homeschooling na angkop sa kapasidad ng bawat mag-aaral, at mabisang aksyon sa pakikipagtulungan sa lokal na pamahalaan at mga partner organizations upang maihatid ang dekalidad na edukasyon para sa lahat. Bawat DepEd Division ay bumuo rin ng sarili nilang Learning Continuity Plan upang gabayan ang mga guro, mga magulang at mga mag-aaral sa bagong pamamaraan ng pag-aaral gamit ang online, modular at TV and radio-based instructions. Gamit ang iba't ibang learning modalities, nagdaos ng dry run ang mga paaralan sa iba't ibang bahagi ng bansa, katuwang ang mga local government units at mga education partners upang maging handa sa bagong sistema ng edukasyon. Isinagawa rin ang mga pagsasanay at oryentasyon sa mga magulang upang maging epektibong katuwang sa pag-aaral ng kanilang mga anak. Sa anumang hamon o sitwasyon, handa ang DepEd. Handang kumilos, handang tumugon, at handang magserbisyo.
Ang dami ng mga pagsusubok at challenges ang naharap at napagtagumpayan ng ating Department of Education. Tuwing may pagsusubok, priority palagi natin ang ating learners at ang ating mga teachers sa tulong ng parents at saka partners at ang buong bansa. Ngayon, sa hinaharap natin itong new normal na sinasabi nila, matatag ang ating kagawaran, matatag ang DepEd dahil pinagtibay na tayo ng panahon. Kayang-kaya natin ito sa tulong ninyo.
G'day everyone, I'm Mark. As a teacher and a former principal, I know that professional learning often comes at the end of a very long day. But there are exciting, less structured ways to be in the driver's seat of your own lifelong learning. A great place to start is by engaging with our Microsoft Innovative Educator, or MIE community. This global community is big, in fact it's enormous. Our MIEs love connecting. Monthly tweet meets are global gatherings of inspiring educators around big topics, and their Facebook group acts as a persistent home for discussions and shared activities. Another way teachers are learning within communities is through Microsoft Teams. Now, greater teacher collaboration improves teaching across schools, and Teams is the ultimate platform for a professional learning community. It's open-walled and socially embedded, so you can incorporate your OneNote Staff Notebook PLC and have access to all the goodness of video chat, phone, and collaboration tools. With Immersive Reader built in, it's inclusive and accessible on any device. Your learning community is just a click away. Last tip, our Microsoft Education Centre offers great ways to gain new skills with courses tailored uniquely to your needs. Make it a collaborative experience by picking a MEC course to do together with your peers. And as a bonus, you can practice collaborative learning by exploring a research paper, like the Class of 2030, and treat it just like a book club with your colleagues face-to-face or in Teams. The link to that research, it's in the description. Remember, learning is socially embedded. It's best done together for students and for teachers. Happy learning.
2020 brought new beginnings for the Department of Education. Ready to pivot towards attaining quality education, DepEd was hopeful of the challenges ahead of it. But as DepEd continued to work on its commitment, the world suddenly faced a steeper dilemma. Around the globe, countries like the Philippines had to shift their priorities to respond to a public health crisis brought by COVID-19. Schools had to be closed, activities had to be halted, graduation ceremonies had to be canceled, as people were urged to stay at home. A new normal dawned upon us. As soon as DepEd realized the impact of these disruptions in education, it began to proactively craft its learning continuity plan last April to ensure that learning opportunities will still be available. Consulting with partners and advisors through the Education Forum, as well as legislators, teachers, parents, learners, and the general public, DepEd made sure its LCP encompasses the concerns of the whole education sector in responding to the crisis. Its topmost priority being the protection of the health, safety, and well-being of learners, teachers, and personnel. To make informed decisions, DepEd first analyzed relevant data and epidemiological picture for the incoming school year. DepEd also issued guidelines on its required health standards to be adopted in all public and private schools and DepEd offices following DOH and IATF protocols. It covers 4 COVID-19 mitigation objectives, namely, to increase physical and mental resilience, reduce transmission, reduce contact, and reduce duration of infection. The LCP also outlined how learning continuity will be ensured. It streamlines the K-12 curriculum into the most essential learning competencies and allows the use of distance learning, homeschooling, and blended learning modalities. Since conducting face-to-face classes will be a risk in most areas, DepEd has anchored its delivery of education to modular, online, TV and radio, or a combination of all. Guided by teachers, modular learning will allow learners to use self-learning modules in a format applicable to learners' capacity. In online distance learning, teachers will facilitate and engage learners' participation through the internet, whether synchronous or asynchronous. TV and radio-based instructions, on the other hand, are converted lessons fit for the broadcast medium. The LCP assures that all our learners, including our SPED, ALS, Madrasa students, can still access education even within the confines of their homes, and ensures that their household capacity will not hinder their right to education. To make this possible, our joint Brigada Eskwela and Oplan Balik Eskwela is assisting the preparations for the rollout of the LCP. On May 8, the LCP was approved by the IATF. The President also gave it his full support and expressed his commitment to meeting the financial demands of its execution. The implementation of the LCP will not be easy. It is not a perfect plan, and complications can be expected along the way. But extraordinary times call for extraordinary and proactive measures, and the Department of Education is ready to address the challenges along the way with the help of our national and local government, partners, parents, and learners. As one nation, learning opportunities shall be available in this brave new world for our Filipino children.
When you need the focus to be on you and not whatever that guy's doing, open Teams.
Tutal na wasak na naman namin ang lahat ng ari-arian nyo!
Sa totoong buhay, totoo ang pinsala ng giyera. Mula noon hanggang ngayon. Para limitahan ang kalupitan ng giyera, nagkaisa ang mga bansa 70 taon na ang nakalipas upang itaguyod ang Geneva Conventions. Ang Geneva Conventions ay kinikilala ng buong mundo bilang bahagi ng international humanitarian law na nagtatakda ng mga patakaran ng giyera o the rules of war. Ayon dito, huwag gawing target ang mga sibilyan at kanilang mga ari-arian. Tratuhin sa makataong paraan ang mga nabilanggo at protektahan ng mga doktor, nurse at mga ospital para paglingkuran ang mga sugatan at may sakit saan man panig sila nagmula. Alamin ang Geneva Conventions. Bisitahin ang www.therulesofwar.org.
Hi guys, so I just came from a meeting and I was just told that I would be leading this fundraising concert for International Students Day. And I have to present the plan to the school board next week. Okay, I'm going to need some help. Let me create a team space and invite my dream team. Sia, she knows all about the budgeting and stuff. Ivan, he knows all the kids from the performing arts group. Aisha, she worked on getting sponsorship last year. And Sam, because he's so cute. Let me lay out all tasks in Planner and kick things off. So, I'm almost done with my event concept and inspiration board. I just need Ivan to do some final tweaks and plug in the repertoire. Budget from Sia? Check. Sponsorship plan? Check. Done! Whew! When you start using Microsoft Teams, teamwork really does become easier. So now I'm heading over to present the plan to the school board. Wish me luck!
De Luna,
Present!
Herrera,
Present!
Valera,
Present!
Handa ba tayo sa school year 2020?
Present!
Ngayong taon, ang edukasyon tuloy pa rin. Sa tulong ng DepEd, mga guro at mga magulang, ang handang isip, handa bukas. Tuloy-tuloy ang pag-aaral. May mga modules para sa iba't ibang antas. Sa government TV, maging sa radyo. Mahalagang ligtas ang ating mga estudyante at guro. Kaya kahit nasa bahay, tuloy ang edukasyon. Kung tulong-tulong, may paraan, may aralan.
Handang isip, handa bukas.
Bisitahin ang DepEd Philippines sa Facebook at ang deped.gov.ph.
If you spend more time tracking down files than actually working on them, open Teams.
Handa ka na bang magpabakuna? Narito ang mga paalala at hakbang na gagawin sa proseso ng pagbabakuna. Bago ang pagbabakuna, kinakailangan mo nang dumaan sa pre-vaccination screening. Kinakailangan kumuha muna ng medical clearance sa doktor ang mga kabilang sa special population tulad ng mga sumusunod. May autoimmune disease, may cancer, may HIV, sumasailalim sa transplant operation, kasalukuyang umiinom ng steroids, mga pasyenteng may taning na ang buhay dahil sa karamdaman o nakaratay na lang sa kama o bahay. Kapag ikaw ay nabigyan na ng medical clearance mula sa iyong doktor, narito ang mga dapat gawin bago ang araw ng iyong pagbabakuna. 1. Humingi ng schedule at lugar kung saan ka magpapabakuna sa iyong pinakamalapit na barangay health center. 2. Huwag kalimutan dali ng iyong government ID, proof of comorbidity o medical clearance, pati na ang face mask, face shield at hand sanitizer. Sa araw ng pagbabakuna, narito ang mga steps na dapat sundin. Step 1. Waiting area. Siguraduhin kayo ay pumunta sa tamang oras at petsa ng inyong schedule sa pagbabakuna. Hindi papayagan ang mga walk-in sa vaccination sites. Maupo sa bakanting upuan alinsunod sa tamang pagkakasunod na bilang. Hintayin na tawagin kayo para sa susunod na hakbang. Habang nag-aantay, sumunod sa minimum public health standards. Isuot ang face mask at face shield, sundin ang proper physical distancing at ugaliing maghugas at isanitize ang kamay. Step 2. Registration. Sundin ang mga patakaran ng inyong LGU o vaccination site sa pag-register at ipakita ang inyong government ID. Bibigyan kayo ng kopya ng informed consent form, health screening form at mga pamphlet tungkol sa bakuna na pwede ninyong basahin. Hintayin na matapos ang proseso ng registration bago pumunta sa susunod na hakbang. Step 3. Screening. Kayo ay isa sa ilalim sa health screening at tatanungin tungkol sa inyong kalusugan tulad ng history of COVID-19 exposure, history of vaccination, mga gamot na iniinom, kung may allergies at iba pa. Ito ay para makasiguro kung angkop para sa inyo ang magpabakuna sa kasalukuyan. Step 4. Health education. Makinig sa ibabahaging importanteng impormasyon tungkol sa pagbabakuna para sa COVID-19. Kung mayroon pa kayong ibang katanungan, sumangguni sa ating mga vaccination staff. Siguraduhin na pirmahan ang consent form na pumapayag kayong magpabakuna bago pumunta sa susunod na hakbang. Step 5. Vaccine Administration. Ito ang panahon kung saan kayo ay babakunahan sa loob ng 1 o 2 minuto. Huwag kalimutan na kunin ang inyong vaccination card pagkatapos matanggap ang bakuna. Step 6. Observation. Alinsunod sa Department of Health, ang lahat na magpapabakuna ay kailangan manatili sa pasilidad ng 15 hanggang 30 minuto para obserbahan kung may hindi magandang nararamdaman. Ang ating medical staff ay nakatutok sa inyo para ma-monitor ang inyong kalusugan. Bibigyan kayo ng mga pangalan ng health facility o hotline kung saan pwedeng pumunta kung kinakailangan sumangguni dahil sa side effects ng bakuna. Pagkatapos ng pagbabakuna, huwag kalimutang gawin ang mga sumusunod. 1. Itanong ang mga nais mong malaman tungkol sa vaccine na binigay sa'yo. 2. Huwag kalimutan ang iyong vaccination card. 3. Alamin ang petsa ng second dose ng iyong pagbabakuna. 4. Kunin ang contact number o alamin kung sino ang dapat tawagan kung sakali mang ikaw ay nakadarama ng seryosong side effects. Narito rin ang ibang mga paalala na dapat tandaan. Siguraduhin bumalik sa schedule para sa pangalawang dose ng bakuna. Laging tatandaan na kahit nabakunahan ka na, ay huwag pa rin kalimutan sumunod sa minimum public health standards tulad ng pagsasanitize ng mga kamay, pagsusuot ng face mask at face shield, at pagdistansya sa iba ng 1 metro. Magmask, hugas, iwas, airflow. Ito ay para na rin sa ating proteksyon at sa proteksyon ng iba. Narito ang pagkakasunod-sunod ng mga eligible population na target mabakunahan. Para sa karagdagang impormasyon, bisitahin ang mga sumusunod na pages. Facebook, Official DOH Gov. Twitter, @DOHGovPH. Website, doh.gov.ph. Tara na sa Bida Vaccination!
The COVID-19 pandemic has brought unprecedented changes to our usual ways of living. But the Department of Education remains unfazed by these challenges to fulfill the mission of Sulong Edukalidad, the rallying call for national effort to deliver quality basic education to all Filipinos, which involve aggressive reforms in the 4 key areas: the K-12 curriculum review and update, improving the learning environment, teachers upskilling and reskilling, engagement of stakeholders for support and collaboration to move forward together as we prepare the education system for the future. The call for Sulong Edukalidad will continue, and we have built the framework of the Basic Education Learning Continuity Plan, or the BELCP, to put the needs of the learners at top priority. DepEd's BELCP is the major response and commitment to protect the health, safety, and well-being of learners, teachers, and personnel. The plan aims to provide opportunities to continue education even in these trying times with a BELCP in place, supported by an unprecedented number of diverse stakeholders from the academe, media, industry groups, NGOs, business and private individuals. Sulong Edukalidad will be able to sustain the aims in its reform for quality basic education. In our journey towards quality education, we have established the 4 pillars of aggressive reforms from the start, and we have been continuing to progress in these pillars. In improving the learning environment, we took action in the construction and rehabilitation of school buildings, ensured the availability of learning materials and equipment, and prioritized our last mile schools. The challenges of the pandemic also brought to light the urgent need to upgrade our ICT infrastructure to service the needs of education. In terms of the teachers' upskilling and reskilling, we were able to establish more innovative professional standards for teachers and school heads. We have aligned the professional development of teachers with their career progression to track their development as part of the National Educators Academy of the Philippines transformation. With the launch of the Education Futures program, where we will be focusing on innovative actions and solutions to improve the state of our education, we are now more than ready to start a new journey and continue our fight for quality education for all Filipino learners. Finally, we've given high importance to the engagement of stakeholders for support and collaboration. In support of this, we have convened the Philippine Forum for Accessible Quality Basic Education, or the Education Forum, which will leverage other partnerships for education quality and strengthen partnership with the Philippine Normal University as the country's national center for teacher education. The department has also been developing a professional development program for teachers and school leaders in order to equip them with the skills, materials, and data that will allow them to help their students prepare for PISA 2022. This intervention consists of the following components: online training for teachers and school leaders, development of learning materials and practice tests for students, deepening the analysis of the PISA 2018 results, and supporting school-level action research. Now that the year is about to end, our commitment to Sulong Edukalidad will continue and will be far from being gone. With a lot at stake, considering our new knowledge and experience from this year's challenges, we are equipped to face a new future. As we head on to the future where we will face many challenges and uncertainties, the department will always be the guardian of every Filipino learner's right to education.
Sino ba ang hindi naapektuhan? Sino ba ang hindi nag-alala? Sino ba ang hindi nalito? Lahat tayo ay naapektuhan. Lahat tayo ay nag-aalala, lahat tayo ay nalito. Dahil binago ng pandemyang dulot ng COVID-19 ang paraan ng pamumuhay ng lahat ng mga Pilipino saan mang sektor ka nabibilang. Tumigil ang panandalian ang ating mga nakagawian. Tumigil ang lahat ng uri ng transaksyon. Tumigil ang lahat ng operasyon ng mga paaralan. Nakalilito. Nakakaba. Paano na ang kinabukasan ng mga kabataan? Paano na tayo sa hinaharap? Opisyal na nilulunsad ng Kagawaran ng Edukasyon sa pangunguna ng Office of the Undersecretary for Curriculum and Instruction ang DepEd Teaches. Ito ay isang online na programa na gagabay sa mga guro, tagapangasiwa, magulang at mag-aaral hinggil sa mga pagbabago sa batayang edukasyon ngayong new normal. Ang DepEd Teaches ay angkla sa sulong edukalidad na nakatuon sa 4 na pangunahing pangangailangan ng mapunyaging reforma tungo sa makalidad na pagtuturo at pagkatuto. Una, pagre-review at pagsasapanahon ng kurikulum ng K-12. Ikalawa, pagpapaunlad ng kapaligirang pampagkatuto. Ikatlo, paglinang ng mga bagong kasanayan sa mga guro. At ang ikaapat, ang pakikipag-ugnay sa mga stakeholder para sa suporta at kolaborasyon. Sa pamamagitan ng virtual learning platform, ang DepEd Teaches ang magsisilbing bukas na komunidad ng pagsasanay na titipon sa mga guro, tagapamunong pang-edukasyon at sa sinumang may pagnanais sa pagtataguyod ng kalidad na edukasyon sa bansa at sa pagtagumpay ng bawat Filipinong mag-aaral. Ang mga opisyal, education specialist, learning content expert at outstanding teacher ng DepEd ang magiging tagapanayam na magbabahagi ng kanilang kaalaman at kasanayan sa kurikulum, pagtuturo at pagkatuto, pagtataya at lahat ng kaugnay na mahalaga sa proseso ng pagtuturo at pagkatuto sa new normal. Bilang mga frontliner ng classroom, inaasahang magiging aktibo ang mga guro sa programang ito. Ang mga tema at paksa ay angkop sa kanilang pangangailangan at konteksto sa pamamagitan ng accessible na platform, ang social media. Sumali na sa OUCI family sa DepEd Teaches kung sama-sama mapahuhusay pa ang mga guro, kung sama-sama higit na malilinang natin ang mga mag-aaral.
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy rainy day. May we experience showers of blessings today as we listen for another wonderful and very insightful episode here on DepEd Teaches, together with our loyal viewers who are also tuning in right now in our social media platforms, for we are simulcast live on DepEd Philippines Facebook page, DepEd Tayo, and DepEd YouTube channel. For the 29th time, if you have not joined our online community, please check our official Facebook page, the DepEd Teaches. And do not forget to like, follow, and share with your friends. So last week, we talked about diversity of our students in the classroom, and to expand our discussion on instructional planning and delivery, today we will cover about designing assessment activities suited for distance learning modalities. Hello, Miss Anna. Good afternoon. It's good to see you again after I missed the last week episode. What are your thoughts in our today's topic, Ma'am Anna?
Hello, everyone. So, good afternoon, Sir July. It's nice to see you again. Okay. So, before I answer that question, it's been raining cats and dogs. So, we hope you are all safe and healthy. Let's not forget our health protocols. And we understand that we just finished the school year 2020. And maybe some of you are on a vacation mode. But then, that doesn't stop DepEd Teaches from delivering quality professional learning experience. And one critical issue that we've encountered this year is how we do assessment. So we know, Sir July, it's not easy because this is a novel experience to us. We are new to this situation. We don't get to see our students face to face. But then the good thing is, as we all know, we have DepEd Order 31, Series of 2020, the interim guidelines for assessment and grading in light of the Basic Education Learning Continuity Plan. And I am confident that you've read these guidelines, dear teachers, for this is our basis on how we graded our students this year. But then, going back to your question, Sir July, I was thinking, why do you think we should be aiming to design assessment that is consistent with the target competencies? Why can't, as a teacher, I can just come up with any assessment, something that is interesting or doable? Why do I have to think about consistency? What do you think about this, Sir July?
Yes, Ma'am Anna, I believe with that. This is another, I think, related topic about alignment because we have the words consistent, target milks, and we have learned this before about alignment. That like curriculum, assessment must be aligned to the content and to the grade level standards and competencies in order to assess whether or not the students have gained the knowledge, skills, and abilities described in the standards. It is also important to note that if curriculum is aligned to standards and if assessments are aligned to standards as well, then assessment, not only the large-scale summative assessment, but also the formative processes and other assessments that may be administered must also be aligned to the curriculum. How I visualize it in my mind is that everything, the curriculum, the instruction, and the assessments are all moving towards in the same direction.
Wow, absolutely, Sir July. Curriculum, delivery, and assessment. That's a beautiful image, working on the same track. So that's the goal. We know there are a variety of assessments that we can design or we can choose from. And we even have the classroom assessment resource book or CARB enclosed in DO31 that we find very useful, not just providing us a number of assessment tools, but even tips, strategies, and guidelines on how to design assessment across all learning areas. But then the more important question is, how do we ensure, just like what you said, there is an alignment between assessment and our competencies or standards? So this is another discussion that we must get enlightened. And today, we are blessed that we will be joined again by an excellent speaker who once gave us a presentation in our previous episode about pedagogical approaches. For sure, you still remember her. We are very excited to listen to her talk about designing assessment activities consistent with target competencies for distance learning modalities.
But before we dive deep into our topic, Ma'am Ana, let's have another activity to stimulate our interest about testing and learning. So we will play the same vocabulary activity that we previously had in our previous episodes. So you must guess, our viewers, you must guess the missing word to complete the idiomatic expression. All the idioms are related to testing and learning. So we give 30 seconds for each of the given 4 items for you to guess the correct word.
All right, so just to reiterate, so we have 4 statements like idioms, like what you said that we must complete or you must complete. So just key in your answer in the comment section. So in this activity, we only need 1 word for each question. I hope the direction is clear. Again, we invite everyone to play this vocabulary game with us, which is related in today's episode, assessment and learning. Okay, so let's begin. Can we show now question number 1? Okay, so let me read. Complete the following statement. The teacher reviewing the module content sat at her desk in a blank study, carefully planning how to design her summative assessment. Okay, so think of a word to complete this idiomatic expression. Okay, 30 seconds begin now. All right, so let's reveal the correct answer. What is your guess, dear viewers? Okay, so the correct answer is brown study. Okay, so when you see brown study, it means a state of deep contemplation or rumination, like a daydream or meditation. Originally, it meant melancholic, gloomy mood, just like sometimes during rainy season, we feel that way. But later on, this meaning has evolved and changed, and it's now largely associated to deep thinking or contemplation. So the teacher sat in a desk in a brown study mode. Okay?
All right, that was a good start, Ma'am Ana. I hope really our viewers were able to key in their correct answer for that item. Now, for the second question or statement, please show them on the screen. So let me read to you the statement. I've got a deadline on Monday, so I'm going to blank study all weekend long. Again, I've got a deadline on Monday, so I'm going to blank study all weekend long. So dear viewers, 30 seconds start now to key in your answers. All right, let us reveal the answer now. So the correct idiom for this is power study. So I've got a deadline on Monday, so I'm going to power study all weekend long. So power study means to study something very intensely, especially within a short period of time. So this happens oftentimes because we sometimes cram, but the quality of our study should not downgrade. So power study seem a good way to prepare.
Right. So that's a good expression, power study. Okay, so I love that. Okay, so now let's proceed for the third item. Please show the question now. Okay, so let me read it to you. Some spend time idly for the first 2 quarters, but they turn into real study blank once they realize they are close to flunking out. Okay, so what do you think is the correct word to complete this statement? There's a clue on the screen, okay, the picture. Okay, so timer starts now. Okay, so let us reveal the answer. Okay, so I hope you got this one correctly. So the correct answer is study animal. Okay, just like the dog, the picture of the dog that you saw on the given item. Okay, so what do we mean by a study animal? Someone who studies very hard or very often. Okay, so ironic play on the phrase party animal, meaning someone who attends parties. So this one is the opposite. Someone who studies hard, a study animal. Okay?
Okay, that was a good item, Ma'am Ana. So for our last item, Teacher Marco, who is blank study, got assessment principles in distance learning modality immediately and was able to apply this effectively. Again, Teacher Marco, who is blank study, caught the assessment principles in distance learning modalities immediately and effectively. All right, so dear viewers, please key in now for 30 seconds your answer. Okay, so let's try now to reveal the answer. The correct idiom for this item is quick study. So Teacher Marco, who is a quick study, caught the assessment principles in distance learning modalities immediately and was able to apply this effectively. So what do we mean by quick study? This pertains to a person who quick to learn things. So this also means that someone who is able to learn new job or adjust to new social environment in a short period of time. So I hope everyone was able to give the correct answer, or perhaps were able to learn new idioms. So as a short recap of the idioms or proverb we learned today, we are having the following: the brown study, power study, animal study, and quick study. So please notice the common word in the following proverbs or idiom is the word study. So again, dear viewers, we hope you gained, or probably this has refreshed you on your vocabulary related to studying. So for today, we will relearn on how we can design assessment in distance learning modalities. So let us now meet our resource person.
Okay, so Director Isabelita Borres, having dedicated 40 years at the Department of Education, has experience working with multiple roles as a high school classroom teacher, college instructor, department head, school planning officer, researcher, education program specialist, graduate school professor, division education supervisor, regional education supervisor for elementary and for higher education, assistant schools division superintendent of Butuan City of Region 13 and of Misamis Occidental of Region 10, schools division superintendent of Siargao and Surigao del Norte of Region 13 and 10, Northern Mindanao, Assistant Regional Director of Region 13 and Regional Director of DepEd Region 13, Caraga Region, Region 12, Central Mindanao, Region 3, Central Luzon, and Region 9, Zamboanga Peninsula of Mindanao. Also, she acted as Director of Project Management Services at PITAF of DepEd Central Office. A graduate of PhD in Educational Management in Ateneo de Cagayan of Northern Mindanao, and Master of Arts in Education, specializing in non-formal education, Director Borres had been engaged in international scholarship programs in curriculum development and instructional leadership, like in Israel, Thailand, Paraguay, Korea, Australia, China, Brunei, Harvard University, Cambridge, USA, Indonesia, and New Zealand.
She has also actively participated in international conferences in Finland, Rwanda in Africa, Korea, Atlanta in the United States, Indonesia, Cambodia, Thailand, among others. She was awarded as an outstanding educator by the Johnson & Johnson in 2005 for her remarkable promotion of women's health program. Dr. Borres has continuously espoused her passion for women's development through the Department of Education and her involvement in the Girl Scouts movement with its varied engagement in adolescence and reproductive health, women's vocational and technical training program, and values development and innovation and peace education. So ladies and gentlemen, with a warm welcome, for her second time around as a speaker here in DepEd Teaches, let us give a big warm of applause to the Regional Director of DepEd Region 9, Zamboanga Peninsula, Mindanao, Dr. Isabelita M. Borres.
Good afternoon, everyone. Buenas tardes a todos. Welcome to the 29th episode of DepEd Teaches. Kumusta po kayong lahat sa ating mga guro na nakapakinig ngayong hapon? For all the school administrators who are on board and joining this session, and to all of us members of the DepEd family. Mayong hapon sa tanan. Okay, if I could remember, the last time I was with you, we were talking about strategies and approaches based on the modules that we are now adapting to support our basic education learning continuity plan months ago. And then this time, as we clench the school year, we have just finished the school year 2020-2021, it's so good to know about the values of assessment. Have we been doing a lot of assessment strategies and approaches so that we could give meaning to all our efforts as we crafted our self-learning modules, as well as tried our best to process, interpret, record all the modules, the accomplishments of our learners in this COVID pandemic time. So this afternoon, to everyone, we would like to welcome you for this episode on designing assessment activities consistent with the targeted competencies for distance learning modalities. I'd like you to recall what we learned in educational measurement, or in the classical nomenclature, test and evaluation. Remember when we were taking up our Bachelor of Science in elementary or secondary education? And remember that as teachers in the whole teaching learning spectrum, when we start with motivation, we start talking about delivery or implementation of the lessons, we should end up with assessment. We should know and be able to conduct evaluation. Why? I know you and I know the reasons. It's all because as teachers, we should be able to monitor, check, examine if our learners have learned. Because it is said, teachers have never taught unless learners have learned. In other words, our teaching delivery will only be meaningful if our pupils, our students, will also tell us that they have learned. And how should we do it? We should test it. Hence, as we have discussed in the past, we start with motivation, we start followed by delivery, or the approaches that we do use, so we could expound the discussion among our learners. The last is really evaluation. Then the challenge is, what designs would we have? For example, it will always depend on our intention or purpose. If we need to assess what they learn, the knowledge that we have, then we should focus on content and knowledge. What modalities shall we be using? Oh, there are a lot of exams. We have the classical objective type of exam, and there are a lot of exams that can be classified as of objective type. We have recall test, we have true or false, and the best is actually the Morse type, in which we have to test the critical thinking of our learners. Given a choice of 3 or 4, they have to think which of the options would really fill in the correct answer to the question. Let's move forward. Then the next would be, if we want to test the skills that they have learned, performance or talents or procedures that they have achieved and accumulated and learned through, then it would be a psychomotor type of an exam. Practical test, skill test, actual examination, actual delivery, in the classical term, practicum. Now, there is one area that we need to assess. It's the affective, because we have to test the head, the hands, and the heart. But this is really critical and crucial because behavior cannot be tested with a pencil and paper test. In a classical paradigm, it is said, values are not taught, they are caught. In other words, it should be manifested in their behavior. Hence, the most difficult test is really on attitude and behavior. But we should have a tool to observe whether our learners manifested or are acting out what they have learned per values purported or discussed in the classroom. So again, may I summarize? It has something to do with the purpose, cognitive, psychomotor, and affective. That's actually the basic Bloom's taxonomy of objectives in the teaching learning process. Now, we have used modules, and our modules are what we call the SLM, self-learning modules. In other words, the learners will bring it home, they read it, and given the support from a parent, a friend, or a teacher, they will be able to understand what the concept is being discussed on. For example, in Region 9, we have modules like this for English, we have for science, and these are our modules that we have written that the division offices have contributed, especially during the first and the second quarter. And if you examine such modules, you have, for example, an introduction, and you also have a discussion, you have some presentation, but always it ends up with a portion called What Have I Learned? And it's being wrapped up, ended with the so-called assessment. If our intention is to check whether our learners have understood this module, once we have given them for a week or two, then that is what is referred to as formative. Formative is in short span of time that they were able to comprehend what was given to them. But given enough time to study a lot of related concepts, which we called in one chapter, then we have what we call an assessment that would test all other competencies. One specific competency followed by another specific competency, or one sub-task followed by one major task. Then we go to what we call summative tests. And these are our periodical exams, year-end exams, which will give you a long duration of knowledge, a long duration of concepts that have been learned in one school year or in one semester. Seemingly, the practice that we do have is an examination will always give us the correct rating to judge and determine whether the learners pass or fail in the exam. So, the second discussion that we have learned this afternoon is there are two kinds of an assessment, formative and summative. What we do every day is a formative test. What we do for a number of months to complete the whole grading period is what we call the periodical test, or we call it summative. But why do we care to make a formative test? Of course, as teachers, that will be the best guidance for us to determine whether we continue with the next topic. Remember, the tasks, the competencies are arranged according to the degree of competency, from a simpler task to the most complicated. We cannot go up if we don't know what is basic. Like, for example, in mathematics, we don't start with division and multiplication. We always start with addition and subtraction. Remember, addition is translated as a multiple type of multiplication. On the same note that multiplication is actually a stepping stone to understanding a division, because multiplication and division are actually an interplay if you know the functions of the numbers that we have learned. And so with the parts of speech, I should start with noun and pronouns. Why would I start with conjunctions and verbs and adjectives and adverbs? I will start always with the simpler concept of understanding. And I think we are following the basic educational psychological principles that learning is always from a simple task to a more complicated task. On the same note, that assessment should also always be patterned on that, from a simpler skills to a more complicated skills. Okay, and so in this pandemic time, what do we have? Actually, we have an assessment at the back of each module. And when we deliver this, and it's being returned to us, then we actually are accomplishing a tool needed for a formative evaluation. We have self-learning modules for all subject areas per grade level. Thus, we have for quarter 1, quarter 2, 3, and 4. And we have for 8 subject areas. Thus, in Region 9, as I'd like to quote a very practical example, we do issue 1 module per quarter for a week. And so, for 1 subject area, there will be 8 learning modules for 1 grade level for a particular subject area. For example, to cite that, if I'm a grade 2 pupil, I have 6. Or if I am a grade 5 or grade 6 learner, I have 8. So this week, I will have 8 modules, and each module speak of 1 competency. But there are cases when we are given so many modules intended for 1 week. So it will always depend on the availability. But basically, the ideal setup, given this pandemic time, and we're talking about designing assessment, we should design it according to, number 1, time. Number 2, space. Just how far and how wide would be the availability of our learners studying the module. That's why considering health protocols, considering COVID pandemic time, and the limited resources that we have, we never have given more than 10 modules in a week because we know of the many mental stresses and disturbances affecting our children given the not so normal conditions of our times. So if we set already the design that if there is 1 competency per grade level, per subject area, considering 8 subject areas, you already have a definite design. But if you would like to have 2 modules with 2 competencies for 1 learning area in 1 week, so be it. Therefore, in 1 week, you will be delivering 16 modules to your learners with a design that 2 competencies will be tested in a week. In other words, the design of the assessment will depend on the intention of the motivation or the purpose of the modules given for that week. I'd like to believe that that should be the underlying philosophy governing the designs of the assessment. And that design will depend on the competencies. And of course, what will be the competency? We have as a basis, a standard basis, we have our own MELC, the most essential learning competencies. Incidentally, in Region 9, we went through a lot of MELC analysis, finding out how many competencies per grading period, per subject area, per grade level. So we had actually an analysis for a month The whole month of June of 2020 was allocated for an analysis. What was the intention of the analysis? We were exploring what were the related competencies. And we discovered that competencies in Filipino are similar to the competencies in edukasyong pagkatao, edukasyong pantahanan, or MAPE also. And we also discovered that English and science have competencies which could be similar, even in mathematics. That's the reason why we explored another way of making the self-learning modules, which we call the thematic modules. But setting that aside, let me move forward. Because we have some ways of integrating concepts, knowledge and content, and psychomotor or affective. And we call this what we call an integrated or thematic assessment. What do you mean by that? In other words, we can always have two designs for one competency. Like, I can teach mathematics in terms of volume and liquid component, but at the same time, I can introduce science, knowing what water is all about. And if I write it out, I can introduce the skill in English. So in other words, I can have one learning module, but competences that are being assessed can be three. And that's a possibility. And that is a possibility. How do we go about our online assessment? As I said, for formative assessment, we were anchoring on the self-modules. Oh, do we have a summative evaluation? Incidentally, in Region 9, there was really the concept of having a periodical test or a year-end or a mid-year achievement test for grades 3, 10, grades 3, 6, 10, and 12. But when we were saddled with MECQ status and ECQ status for our three big provinces of Sibugay, Zamboanga Norte, and Zamboanga Sur, time and space were a problem. Hence, we explored an online assessment. Wow! And let me share to you what Pagadian City Division, spearheaded by the Superintendent Dr. Danny Cordova, and of course with their ITO, Mr. Paterna, and all of the staff in the academic group were helping. Incidentally, Regional Office also took effort in analyzing, evaluating the exams. And so this is the whole flow of the online division assessment test which we piloted in the division of Pagadian City. It was really spearheaded by the RTO, given the support of the RO, our ITO officer. For example, Mr. Antonio Liagas also helped all the division ITOs to formulate such. In other words, we suspended the regional achievement test because of the warning and compliance of the health protocols considering our COVID assessment status. But division offices were really given the initiatives and the empowerment to do their own division achievement test. And gladly, we'd like to present to you the division assessment test of Pagadian City. And we have what we call a manual that was being used, and they use Microsoft Teams, but with an self-exam browser with an innovative approach by utilizing a manual for that from the pre-test, starting with the registration to the post-test. So there was actually a series of activities in terms of planning before examination, then the conduct of the test, and the post-examination. We can provide you the link for the discussion on this, the whole procedure of the online division assessment test of Division of Pagadian City. Okay. The Division of Pagadian City conducted this online division achievement test last June 18. And you know, the results are very interesting. You can see on screen the results of the exam, and we discovered that our learners enjoy our modules in other subject areas like Filipino, Araling Panlipunan, MAPE, English, but they got low score in science. Which will tell us now, and this is the purpose of an assessment. If we now design the next set of modules for school year 2021-2022, then we will have a different approach for science because children need more discussions, deeper analysis of the concepts in science. And that's how significant assessment is. And when we think of absolute values for an exam, given a formative assessment at the end of the module of 10 questions, remember the ideal standards is 70, which means in a score of 10, they will get 7. And if they are not getting a consistent score of 7, then that's a good time to reflect that we should do a lot of changes in terms of the delivery, even in terms of the content of our modules. So you see, knowing that in an online achievement test, there is a result and that we lack really a certain degree of knowledge, content in science, then that should be our focus. You see, decision of learning modules will be affected by the assessment that we have conducted. That would be all for today. Probably in the next episode, we'll go into crafting now the content of the learning modules that are really meaningful for our learners. Muchísimas gracias. Thank you very much. Daghang kayong salamat.
So thank you so much, Director Borres, for a very comprehensive and clear presentation on how we make connection of instructional design in the module and assessment, the types of assessment, and the integrative thematic performance task between and among the learning areas. And as well for showing us how your division offices and the regional office as a whole have carefully planned, implemented, and evaluated your well-thought-of assessment tasks incorporated in your self-learning modules. So once again, thank you so much, Director Borres. Also, we would like to take this opportunity to bid our congratulations to Director Borres for your retirement. We wish you all the best as you enter to this next phase of your life. May you fully enjoy the very best that life has to offer after years of unselfish and dedicated service for the Department of Education. So happy retirement, Director Borres. Now, just keep on sharing your insights and thoughts here in DepEd Teaches comment section. And also post it in your social media accounts like your own Facebook personal page and Twitter account. Don't forget to use the hashtag I support DepEd Teaches and hashtag DepEd Teaches episode 29.
So to all our loyal viewers who consistently watch and support every episode here on DepEd Teaches, don't forget to register. Our evaluation will be given next week on the 30th episode. And if you have time, please feel free to view again, watch all the other episodes, so you'll be able to ace the evaluation and get your certificates of participation. We hope to see you again next week.
Okay, so this concludes the episode 29. On behalf of the curriculum and instruction strand, let us all commit ourselves in developing quality assessment for the success of our learners. And here on DepEd Teaches, we extend our help through delivering quality and relevant content to you, our dear teachers. For our mission is empowering teachers, enabling learners. A blessed afternoon and keep safe, everyone.